Hey everyone, it's Rob Foglia and Jessica Klein with Foglia Properties at Keller Williams here in Nashville, and we're coming to you today to talk about basically your home solution, your move solution, and kind of moving almost gone wrong, I guess you could say. Basically, well, I'll explain why in a second. But you ready to jump in, Jessica?
Yeah, this I think a lot of people will kind of connect with this. It's what we think about all the time. Like, I want to buy a home and I feel like I'm going to mess it up.
Yeah.
and and there's so many things that we do that can correct a lot of the solutions and make it an easy process for you. So yeah, let's jump in.
Perfect. And one of the reasons we wanted to talk about this is we've talked to a couple of people recently who've had negative experiences with other real estate agents. And obviously we're not going to give names or specifics. However, long story short, what we're finding is a lot of those real estate agents didn't necessarily have a process they were following. It was more of somebody said, "Hey, I want to make a move. I want to look at this home on Chestnut Street." So the agent jumped in their car and then they said, "Hey, let's just figure it all out." And unfortunately, especially in a market like we're in, it doesn't work like that. You've got to have a plan, a process. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, mostly about buying. However, we do want to just quickly start with by saying if you're selling and buying at the same time, and you're going to need to sell to buy. So there's a big and in there, meaning if you don't need to sell to buy, this might not apply to you. But if you need to sell to buy, selling is going to be the first step. Do you want to explain why that is, Jessica?
Yeah, well, first of all, if you need to sell a home in order to buy, then obviously you're going to need the proceeds from the sale
Yeah.
to move to the next house. So yes, absolutely. I mean, selling is in this market going to happen very quickly, and buying might be a slightly longer process as well.
Absolutely.
So
And,
yeah.
and on top of that, when you're going to buy, if it's contingent on your sale, in the reality is you're going to be in competition for your purchase. And if our offer is contingent on your sale and your home's not even on the market yet, it's not under contract, what's the motivation for that seller to actually accept your offer? I
Yeah,
mean,
they're going to be a little nervous.
yeah, I mean, unless you're severely overpaying or
Yeah.
unless that seller, unless there's some extenuating circumstance that you're working with, the reality is that seller is likely going to know there's another buyer coming that doesn't have that contingency. And so
Yeah.
that's why it's step one. And if you've got a specific question, you're looking to make a move, you want to know a little bit more about that, reach out to us because we really wanted to talk mostly about the buying side today, because that's aside from that being the fun part, that's your new home. That's where you're going to. That's where I think people get tripped up. That's where people say, well, hey, I saw this home on fill in the blank website and I want to check it out. And you've got to have that process, right?
Yeah, and it always seems like that's the first step, right? Like, I want to buy a home, I have to look at homes, and it's really kind of a middle step. And it's there are, just like you have on the screen here, there are a couple things that we need to do before we even know which houses to look at.
Exactly. And so the very first thing, as you can see, are on a step-by-step process. And we typically go over this with every buyer we work with. So if you're interested in buying a home, reach out to us and we can arrange what we call a buyer's consultation to walk you through the step-by-step process. And yet the very first step is securing funds to purchase. And what that means is if you're paying cash, you'd have cash. But if you're like the majority of buyers out there, you're getting a mortgage, you get pre-approved for that mortgage. That pre-approval, as you see on the screen here, makes you like a cash buyer. It's going to save you time. That save you time, meaning once we go under contract with your home, and we're obviously fast forwarding in the future, we it's a quicker process instead of then having to get everything to the lender. But on top of that, it makes your offer stronger, and it should give you that peace of mind knowing what you qualify for. But that's step one. Step two then is your home is before we even get to the home search, it's that buyer's consultation that I mentioned. The reason for that is you can see on the screen here, the most important factor is clarifying your criteria and your priorities. And that's what we start to uncover during the buyer's consultation. On average, our buyers legitimately see about 5 homes before writing an offer. And that's because of our buyer's consultations, because of the questions that I ask, the questions that we talk about, the conversations that we have. We start to uncover things that are important for you as a buyer, and that allows us to focus on those things that are important. Is what I'm saying make sense, Jessica?
Oh, for sure. And I'm just sitting here thinking, in these two steps, what maybe is something that you've heard from a buyer working who previously worked with another agent that was just a horror story, like something that went terribly wrong?
Usually what happens is the horror story actually starts later on because they don't have the foundation in place. And so what I mean by that is is say the top step right there, securing funds to purchase. Say you're selling a home and buying a home at the same time. Well, if you're selling first, you're gonna have if you're selling while you're buying, I should say, you've got to get that home sold. And that if that seller of the home you're buying, and I know I'm using those words a lot here, but if that seller of the home you're buying actually accepts your offer, they might kick it out if they get another offer that doesn't have it. And there are stories like that we're not going to have happen because we follow our process. However, other agents that don't follow that process and just say, "Oh, sure, you want to go look at Chestnut Street? Let's go look at it. Let's write that offer, and we'll figure everything else out as we go." That's where you leave yourself open to say, and I don't want to scroll through this whole thing with y'all, but if that's where if you pay for an inspection and you pay for an appraisal, and all of a sudden, wait a minute, now my home's not going to close because I haven't gotten my home I'm selling closed yet. You're out that money, you're out that time, you're out that energy. And ultimately, I think that's what ends up discouraging a lot of people from actually moving because they had that bad experience. And again, I'm not trying to drag our industry or people through the mud, but if that agent had a process they were following and they kept their client to it like we do, that's when we don't run into those hiccups. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. So the first step is well, talking to us. We can link you up with really good lenders that we work with
Yeah.
consistently and who have a very good track record of closing on time and protecting their clients.
Mhm.
So you get your pre-approval letter, and then you talk to us again, and we figure out, okay, what are your real criteria? What's your current home going to sell for, so that we can figure out what your budget is on your next house. Then we'll do the search, and we'll pick based on a lot of back and forth and narrowing down what really matters. We'll go out and see houses that you really love, and you might write an offer on once you confirm that they're perfect, right?
Absolutely. And I'm glad. One thing I will say here before we open it up, see if there are any questions on our live stream. You mentioned a term there, and that was you said basically, or a phrase. You said make sure that we get you connected with a great lender with that great track record.
Mhm.
And I think that step is so important because you can see that the very first line here under secure funds to purchase, pre-approval. Unfortunately, there are some lenders. Unfortunately, it's a lot of those big banks that are out there as well. They simply write a pre-qualification letter. The difference, if anybody watching, they think, oh, maybe those things mean the same. They don't. A pre-qualification letter usually means that the lender may have had an introductory conversation with the buyer. They may have even looked at an account statement or two, but that's it. They say, based on what you're telling me, you should be good to buy this home at this price with this money, but I haven't verified anything. A full pre-approval, like the lenders that we use and that we recommend, the full pre-approval is when the lender has gone through and they've actually verified your tax, your tax returns, your income. Like they make sure that you're ready to go. That's what gives you that peace of mind. That's what makes sure that you're going to be in a good spot financially moving forward. And ultimately, that's making sure we've got that great lender that you're connected with. That's what prevents that hiccup down the road. And especially if you're in a complicated situation, maybe you're self-employed, maybe you've got income, you're not just a normal, regular old W-2 employee. If you have a complicated situation, that's where we've got to make sure we get you fully pre-approved so that we don't run into that hiccup.
Yeah, I love that. I love that phrase, preventing hiccups down the line, because that's what we do. Like that is the core of how we're different from many other agents out there, other teams out there. Because we have, I mean, combined, we have what, 14 years of experience in this industry, working at a very high level with the number one company at, the number one office, like all these things have helped us to learn so much and to prevent all of these hiccups down the line for the people we work with.
Absolutely, Jessica. Well said. So if y'all have any questions about this, by all means, reach out to us. We're here to help. Even if that question is like, oh, I talked to a past client earlier this week. She wants to make a move next year, and so we got together for more of a planning session. Like we're absolutely happy, especially this time of year, to start having those planning sessions so you can accomplish your goals that you have in 2022. But if you've got any questions, you want to schedule a planning session, or maybe even you want to make a move right now. Call us. You can respond to this. If you're getting through email, respond to this email. You can call us direct. If you're seeing this on Facebook, PM us. We're happy to help any way that we can. Before we sign off, Jessica, any comments on the Facebook live stream?
Nothing right now, but like always, feel free to leave them anytime you see this or reply if you're getting it in email.
Awesome. Well, Awesome. Well, appreciate y'all checking this out. And like I said, reach out to us if we can help in any way. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Thanks, everybody.
See y'all. Bye.